welcome to this week's video. Today we're going to be continuing last week's video where we developed this Python program where we could detect objects in an image. As I mentioned, I'm no expert in AI, but this is just a tutorial for you to build cool stuff, build cool projects. If you just want to use these AI tools, but not necessarily want to know how they work inside, almost seeing them as a black box. So let's look here into my computer and we can see exactly how we can do that. Last time I gave you a tutorial on how you can simply detect some objects on a kitchen, for example, using the Coco label set. But in this video, I'm curious to see if we can actually run that on a weaker hardware. Last time I used my laptop, it's a MacBook with a pretty powerful CPU, but let's see if we can actually run that same model on a Raspberry Pi. Today here with me, I have a Raspberry Pi 4 and a brand new Raspberry Pi 5 with 8 GB. Let's see if we can run the same model on those things, because if we can actually do that, we can actually build cool stuff, cool projects that are not limited to a laptop. So let's look here now onto my screen. I have here now a VS Code open. That's the code that I showed you last time, where we are using this model here, Faster RCNN Inception ResNet v2. And we're using TensorFlow to try to detect some objects on an image. So here I have a few labels. That's the Coco label set. You have here, I think, 90 different labels that you can detect on an image. And then you can see over here, for example, we have a few sample pictures, for example, here, right? And we try to run that script and actually output something like this, where you have, the model detect a microwave, the apple here, and the bowl. So let's see if we can make the same algorithm run on a Raspberry Pi. So here I have my Python script that actually is gonna do all of the detection. I can open a terminal here and try to run that same algorithm. Let's see if we can, how long it takes to actually get this to work. So let's do here Python 3 main.py. Let's run this and see how long this is gonna take, and then we can compare to our Raspberry Pis. All right, the model just finished running. I feel like it took about 2 to 3 minutes. You can see here we started at 3 o'clock, 29 minutes. Right now it's 3 o'clock 31, so around 2 to 3 minutes that it took. And you see here it detected these 3 things, and these classes here, they represent the objects that are in the image. I showed you this already, but those 3 labels correspond to either the microwave, the apple, or the bowl. So you see, even on a MacBook that has I think an i7 Intel chip, that takes quite a while, like 3 minutes to run this image here. Let's see how long it would take to run that on a Raspberry Pi 4 and then later on a Raspberry Pi 5, if it runs at all. All right, now we're gonna try to run the same algorithm on a Raspberry Pi. If you've been following the channel, we built this robot here, and right here there's a Raspberry Pi 4. It has 2 GB of RAM. And let's see if we can run that same model on this RC car, because if that works, then we have even a camera here. Maybe we can build some cool projects where we can actually take pictures and try to detect some things with that Python script. So let's first see if we can run that over here. If that's not the case, then later we can also test that on the Raspberry Pi 5, which I recently got. I can show you over here. I have a brand new Raspberry Pi 5 over here. It's in this metal case. It has 8 GB of RAM, and so hopefully if the 4 doesn't work, we can try to run it over here. All right, so let's now switch here to my terminal, where I can connect to my Raspberry Pi 4, which, as I mentioned, is currently running here on this RC car. So I have here a terminal open. Right now here, I'm logged in on my Raspberry Pi with SSH, and I have also here a htop command running, so you can see how much memory we're using and what's the CPU load as we run that algorithm. As I mentioned, this is a Raspberry Pi 4 with 2 GB of RAM. So I copied all of my files here to this folder called image detector. So let's go there. And now all of our files are here. Our model is over here. And we just got to run main.py. So let's try to do that. So we're going to do Python 3 main.py. Of course, you got to be running that inside of our virtual environment. So it's already created here, this .m. So let's go ahead and activate that. Now we're inside of our virtual environment, so it should detect all the libraries now. So let's try to do the same command. So now we'll try to run our AI model to detect those objects. And over here we can see the CPU load as well as the memory that we're using to do that. This might take a while. The Python script is running over here. Let's see how long that takes. And we can see here the CPU load, one of those cores is increasing, it's 100% right now. And we can slowly see also that the memory usage is also increasing over time. You see our Python process over here on top. Right now utilizing 100% of a CPU, so one full core, and 46% of our memory. Let's see how well this is gonna go, if it finishes at all. You can see now the memory is increasing a lot. We're almost at 1.35 gigabytes out of our 2 gigs model in our Raspberry Pi. So far I haven't seen any of the outputs here from the script. We're almost here at the limit. We're almost using the full 2 gigabytes of RAM of this Raspberry Pi right over here. Oh, here we got an output from the script. We already got a warning here that is exceeding the memory, the free system memory here, 10%. But it's still trying to run the inference model. So let's see how that goes. Again, the same warning here. Exceeds 10% of the free system memory. And I can already tell it's taking longer than when I ran that on my laptop. Oh, you can see now here, all of the CPU cores are completely overloaded, almost reaching here the maximum of our RAM as well. So the Raspberry Pi is struggling to run this at the moment. Oh, and you see, it just killed the process. So this was too much for the Raspberry Pi 4 with only 2 gigabytes. It just couldn't even finish running our model. It ran out of memory, so it just killed the process. So let's see if we can now run this on the Raspberry Pi 5. It has 4 times the amount of memory at 8 gigabytes. Let's see if we can actually run this model there. Alright, so now let's try to run the same thing on the Raspberry Pi 5. Here's my Raspberry Pi 5. It's actually very easy. I just gotta move the SD card that's currently here on this card to this Raspberry Pi 5, and it's just very simple. We just do the same thing again, but now running on a different hardware. So let me go ahead and try to get the SD card over here. Luckily, I put it very accessible here so I can easily take it. There you go. And it should be as simple as just putting this SD card here on the Raspberry Pi 5 and then try to run the same thing again. So I'm just gonna get here my Raspberry Pi and connect the power over the USB-C port. The LEDs are blinking already, and now let's see if we can connect that over SSH. Alright, so I'm here on my terminal again. So nothing changed. I mean, the Raspberry Pi, the OS is running exactly the same. We're just running that on a different hardware. So in theory, I can just simply SSH to that with the same name. So let's see if that works. SSH. That's the name that I gave my Raspberry Pi here in my local network. Let's see if that works. Oh, we already found it. Perfect. So I put my password here and I'm in. Okay, so it's the same thing now. All we gotta do is try to run the script on this new hardware. So let's go ahead now and navigate to that same image detector folder. There we're gonna activate our virtual environment for Python. So source van bin activate. Now we're inside of a virtual environment, and all of our libraries like TensorFlow can be found by the Python interpreter. And now it's just a matter of running this main.py script. But first I also want to look into the memory usage and the CPU load. So I'm going to open here a new tab. And let's do the same thing. Let's connect. And I'm going to run the htop command, because then we can see all of the hardware information, all of the CPU cores. And look here, we already see the memory. It's now here at the 8 gigabytes of the Raspberry Pi 5. So let's see if it does a better job in running that script. So I'm going to go ahead here and just run python 3 main.py, and let's see what happens. Let me switch here to the htop tab. And we see here our Python process right on the top here. Right now also using a full core of the CPU. And we also see the memory slowly increasing over time. The difference now is, of course, we have 8 gigabytes, so hopefully it won't kill the process before it can finish. But let's see how that works. I mean, right out of the bat, I think it's doing a better job already. Let's see if we can finish the whole script. On this tab over here, we got a warning here that exceeds 10% of the free system memory. but let's see if that's gonna cause any problems for us. Right now here, all the CPU cores are struggling a little bit. We see a little peak here of the load, almost using all of our cores at 100%. But it actually went through. So we actually finished our analysis of the image, and we actually got all of our detections here. We actually finished the program, and it was much quicker, to be honest. I feel like it was similar to the laptop, where it took maybe even less than 1 or 2 minutes. So it looks like the Raspberry Pi 5 could actually do the job. And of course here we can see our output.jpg image over here. So one thing we can do now is to try to copy this to our computer and see if we can look into that picture. So let me open here my VS Code, and yeah, I mean this image was already here. That's when I ran on my laptop, but we want to know if we can actually see the image that was in the Raspberry Pi, not this one here. So let me just delete this one. And here in the terminal, I want to copy whatever image is in my Raspberry Pi over here, so I can use the scp command. And here I need to give my Raspberry Pi location, which is going to be this here that I saved for my specific Raspberry Pi, followed by the location, right? So I think it's a home Pi image detector, and I think it's output.jpg. And then we want to just copy it over to this folder over here. So let's see if that works. As for the password, and there you go, we brought over here the image and see exactly the same result where we detected the microwave, the apple, and the bowl. So that was running on the Raspberry Pi 5. It was actually much faster than I thought it would be. It was very similar to my laptop over here. Of course, on the laptop, I'm running a lot of other things as well. I'm recording the screen, I'm filming this video, but I'm pretty impressed that on the Raspberry Pi 5, we actually ran this object detection model in Python without any problem. It was a huge jump from the Raspberry Pi 4, and I'm really impressed that we can actually detect some images, some objects in an image. And that opens up a lot of new projects that we can build, because now we can put a Raspberry Pi on a robot like this, for example, and we can now detect things with the camera. So who knows, what kind of projects do you think we can build with this new Raspberry Pi 5? But if you stayed to the end, thank you very much. That's all I had to show you today, and I see you next time.